There are names that build empires, names that shape religions, and names that enslave nations. But above them all, there is a name that was never meant to be forgotten, a sound so sacred it once carried the memory of your soul. The ancient Gnostics whispered of it in caves and deserts. Mystics cloaked it in symbols. Power-hungry rulers buried it under layers of fear. Yet across centuries echoes remain. A holy name belonging to the monad, the source before all sources, the one before all dualities. The monad is not a god among gods. It is not a deity competing for worship. It is the abyss before light, the stillness before sound, the silence before breath. It is the pure fullness from which all existence flows. And within it resides a name, not a word of ownership, but a key of remembrance. This is not the name of domination, but of return. Imagine a time when the human heart beat in unison with the stars, when the vibration of this holy name was felt in every breath, every flame, every river. It was not spoken as a label, but invoked as a living resonance. The sound aligned your soul with the source. To utter it was to remember where you came from. But power feared such freedom. If humanity could recall its origin, no empire could rule it. If souls remembered their source, no chains could hold them. So the holy name of the monad was buried, veiled, replaced with lesser names of control. The result was a world that remembers fragments but forgets wholeness. Yet, even in exile, the name has not died. It hides in the spaces between words, in the silence after prayers, in the hum of the universe itself. It waits for recognition, not belief. It waits for those who dare to remember. Tonight, you are invited into this remembrance, not to learn a word, but to awaken a vibration, not to master a formula, but to feel a resonance. For the holy name of the monad is not an artifact of history. It is alive in you now. The question is simple. Will you listen? Will you allow the echo of ancient whispers to become a living thunder in your soul? Because the forgotten key has always been in your hands, waiting for this moment, this turning, this awakening. Before there were alphabets, there was vibration. Before there were scriptures, there was sound. Before thought became tangled in sentences, creation was spoken through resonance. In the beginning was not simply the word, but the silence that became sound, and the sound that became worlds. Ancient mystics knew that names were not merely identifiers, they were embodiments. To name something was to call forth its essence. This is why in so many traditions, the divine was guarded by ineffable syllables. The Hebrews veiled it in 4 letters too holy to pronounce. The Hindus sang it as Om, the sound of all that is. The Greeks spoke of Logos, the ordering principle of reality. The Gnostics too preserved a hidden teaching, that the monad itself had a resonance, a name that did not belong to one people or one tongue, but to the fullness of being itself. This name was not bound to language. It was pre-verbal, pre-creation, a vibration that carried the essence of eternity. When humanity lived close to Source, this name was felt in the rhythm of breath, in the pulsing of the heart, in the song of the cosmos. But as illusion thickened, as Archons imposed false names and false gods, the remembrance was clouded. Humanity remembered fragments of sacred sound, but forgot the wholeness. Think of it like a symphony. The world still plays notes of divinity, but the melody has been scattered. To recall the holy name is to reassemble the music of the soul. It is to restore harmony in a dissonant world. But here is the mystery. The name cannot simply be read or repeated. It must be embodied. It is not a password to heaven. It is heaven awakening within you. And so, before words had power, before gods had titles, before the demiurge crafted illusions, there was the pure resonance of the monad. This is where we return. The forgotten key is not something you will learn tonight. It is something you will remember. Across ages, seekers have tried to capture the monad's holy name in fragments of text, chants and symbols. In the caves of Nag Hammadi, in the whispers of hermetic teachers, in the veiled prayers of mystics, you can sense its shadow, but never the whole. Why? Because the holy name could not be fully written, it could not be contained in ink, it could not be confined to parchment. Instead, it was scattered across languages, hidden in syllables, preserved in mantras, and disguised in chants. To those with ears to hear, each fragment pointed back to the One. Some texts speak of the name as a series of vowels, pure sound beyond consonants, the breath of eternity itself. Others suggest it is hidden in the very act of breathing, the inhale and exhale, forming the eternal invocation. Still others place it in the silent pause between words, the unutterable sound behind all sound. But one truth is consistent. The name was obscured, veiled, even ridiculed as superstition. Early church fathers branded such teachings as heresy, fearing that people could bypass priest and altar and commune directly with the source. To protect their structures, they buried the key. Yet no burial lasts forever. The desert scrolls unearthed, the chants preserved in hidden lineages, the intuition that rises in your chest when hearing sacred tones. All of these point back to the same hidden truth. What is important is not to obsess over syllables or phonetics, but to recognize the resonance. The holy name cannot be taught, it must be unveiled, and that unveiling happens not in the ear, but in the soul. To decipher the sacred syllables is to listen not with your mind, but with your being. To hear not sound, but remembrance. And if you listen closely, you will discover the syllables have never been lost. They have always been sounding inside you. The story of the forgotten name is the story of control. When humanity carried direct remembrance of the monad, no empire could enslave them. They did not fear death, for they remembered eternity. They did not bow to false gods, for they knew the One. They could not be manipulated, for the holy name pulsed within them. The Archons, the counterfeit rulers of this world, knew this, and so they spun a counterfeit web. They offered substitute names, substitute gods, substitute prayers. They taught people to fear the divine rather than embody it. They replaced living resonance with lifeless recitation. This is why the Gnostics were hunted, not because they believed in strange myths, but because they carried a dangerous truth, that the soul could remember directly, without intermediaries, that the holy name of the monad was the ultimate key, and that key belonged to everyone. So the name was hidden, sometimes by force, burning texts, silencing teachers, outlawing chants, sometimes by distortion, redefining sacred sounds into empty rituals, and sometimes by necessity, mystics veiling their teachings so that only the prepared could receive them. Yet the hiding was not only oppression, it was also protection. For a power misused can become a curse. The holy name is not a tool of sorcery, not a formula for manipulation. It is the remembrance of wholeness. To misuse it would be to distort it, and so hidden it remained, buried but not destroyed, waiting but not forgotten. Why now? Because the time of concealment has ended. Humanity is awakening, and with it, the resonance of the monad stirs again. The holy name was hidden not to punish but to preserve. Now it rises not to control but to liberate. The holy name of the monad is not out there, waiting to be discovered like some artifact of history. It is not buried beneath sand or sealed in forgotten libraries. It is not hidden in a temple accessible only to priests. It has never belonged to the outer world. It is already inside you. It has always been inside you. The monad planted its name like a seed within your being before you were even born. It pulses in the hidden chambers of your soul, waiting for you to stop searching outward and finally listen inward. Every heartbeat is more than biology. It is a cosmic drum calling you back to remembrance. Every breath you take is not simply air entering lungs. It is an invocation, a subtle prayer to the source, whether you realize it or not. The vibration of your being already hums with the eternal sound, like a string tuned to the music of the cosmos. You do not need to acquire this resonance. You need only remember that it has always been there. Forgetfulness was taught to you, imposed upon you. The world layered noise upon the signal, illusion upon truth. And yet, when the true resonance finds you, something undeniable stirs. It arrives like a sudden wave of recognition, as if you are remembering a dream you never knew you carried. It is the ache of homesickness, but for a home you cannot describe with words. Tears may rise, not from sorrow, but from recognition, because your soul knows its source when it hears it. The holy name bypasses your intellect, your arguments, your skepticism, and goes straight into the marrow of your being. This is why sacred chants can move you to stillness before you even understand their meaning. This is why certain sounds pierce deeper than language, resonating in places untouched by thought. And this is why silence itself feels like home, because silence is not empty, it is full of the monad. The resonance of the holy name does not travel through your mind, it speaks directly to your soul, bypassing every veil. It is not a sound you hear, it is a recognition you become. And in that moment, you realize something radical. You were never separate, you were never exiled, you were never broken. You are not a wanderer cast out from heaven, you are heaven remembering itself. You are the extension of the monad, the living echo of the source. The forgotten name does not connect you to the divine. It reveals that you were never disconnected. What you thought was distance was only a veil of perception. What you thought was silence was simply the sound you had forgotten how to hear. This is the revolution of remembrance. Not belief in borrowed doctrines, not adherence to dogmas that crumble, but resonance, direct, undeniable, and alive. To remember the holy name is to collapse the illusion of separation. It is to awaken to the truth that what you are seeking is seeking you, vibrating within you, longing for you to listen. To carry the holy name is not merely to recite syllables, but to become a living frequency of the monad. To walk as an embodiment of its resonance is to dissolve illusion wherever you go. When you speak from remembrance, your very words awaken sleeping sparks in others. When you embody the vibration, you become a mirror in which others see their own divinity reflected. To carry the name is to shine without trying, to awaken without teaching, to remind without speaking. And in that recognition, the true journey begins. Not a journey outward towards some distant heaven, but a journey inward, deeper and deeper into the eternal presence you already carry. The holy name becomes the compass, the map, and the destination all at once. And every step you take in remembrance is not towards something new, it is a homecoming to what has always been. How then do we invoke the holy name? The answer is both simple and profound, not with the lips, but with the soul. To invoke it is not to speak as if commanding, it is to surrender as if remembering. The name is not a secret word to be repeated mechanically. It is not a charm to be mastered or a formula to be recited. It is a vibration to be felt, a presence to be entered. Invocation is not performance, it is remembrance. It is the act of returning to what has always been within you, waiting quietly in the silence beneath your thoughts. One practice is to sit in stillness, close your eyes, and follow the river of your breath. Inhale as though drawing the fullness of the monad into your being. Exhale as though offering everything back to the monad, like a tide ebbing and flowing into the eternal sea. The rhythm of breathing itself becomes the holy name, each cycle a chant written not on lips but on the soul. Another is to chant the sacred vowels, slowly and reverently, not as words but as pure tones. A, E, I, O, U. Let them spill forth not from your throat, but from the depths of your being. As you do, feel your body as a resonant chamber of light, vibrating like an instrument tuned to eternity. Allow the tones to rise not as sounds you produce, but as frequencies you uncover, ancient harmonies hidden in your very bones. Still another is to listen, not to your thoughts, not to the noise of the world, but to the underlying hum that holds all things together. Sit long enough, and the ringing silence reveals itself, not empty but alive, throbbing with presence. This is the holy name sounding itself, the song of the monad that never ceases, the current that carries every soul. Invocation is not about manipulating reality or bending the universe to your desire. It is about remembering reality as it is, about aligning your being with what already exists in perfect wholeness. To invoke is to dissolve separation, to rest in resonance, to allow the forgotten key to turn itself within you. And when you invoke with sincerity, something astonishing happens. You realize you are not calling the monad to you at all. The monad has always been calling you to itself. Every breath, every silence, every vibration is its invitation. Invocation is not summoning, it is answering. Every time you invoke the holy name, you reclaim what was stolen. You pull your soul out of exile, away from the counterfeit voices that told you you were lost. You dissolve the illusions of separation that wove chains around your spirit. You break through the veil of forgetting and step once more into the light of your origin. Invocation is not recitation, it is homecoming. It is the act of returning to the source. This reclamation is not theoretical. It is not a doctrine you debate or a philosophy you analyze. It is something you feel in the very core of your being. You feel lighter, as if invisible weights have been lifted. You feel whole, as though fractures long ignored have finally been mended. You feel a recognition so profound it resists explanation, yet you know it to be true, because it is not learned, it is remembered. When remembrance stirs, the Archons lose their grip. The counterfeit rulers of this world thrive only in forgetfulness. But when you awaken, their illusions weaken. Fear dissolves, like shadows retreating at dawn. Guilt evaporates, exposed as a false inheritance never meant for you. Shame falls away, revealing the radiant spark that was never tainted. You stand not as a sinner begging for forgiveness, but as a soul who has always belonged, always been whole, always been divine. This is the essence of liberation, not escape into another realm, but remembrance of the one that has always been here, not groveling for grace as though it were scarce, but realizing grace was never absent. It has always poured through you like a river. The holy name reveals this truth. You were never cut off. You were never abandoned. You have always been connected, always been part of the fullness. To reclaim your divine connection is to reclaim your true identity, not the fragile mask handed to you by culture, not the false self constructed by fear, but the eternal self that cannot be destroyed. This is the identity the monad breathed into you before time began, the identity no Archon can erase. And when you carry this resonance, you cannot help but radiate it. Your presence becomes medicine to the wounded, your silence becomes sanctuary to the weary, your life becomes a blessing to those who encounter you. Without trying, You become a doorway through which others begin to remember the same forgotten light within themselves. The holy name is not exclusive. It does not belong to a chosen few, to a priesthood, or to a secret order. It belongs to all, for it is written in the essence of every soul. To reclaim it is to reclaim not only your own divinity, but the shared destiny of humanity itself. It is to reawaken the harmony that binds us beyond nation, beyond creed, beyond illusion. And when enough souls remember, when enough hearts vibrate with the resonance of the monad, the world itself will tremble. The illusion will shatter, the exile will end, and what was stolen will be restored, not to one, but to all. There is a paradox in the holy name. It is both sound and silence, both utterance and stillness, both resonance and absence. It is the hymn and the hush, the vibration and the void. The name is spoken and unspoken all at once, for it belongs not to the realm of opposites, but to the fullness that holds them together. When you invoke the name, you discover that the sound is only the doorway. The chant that begins on your lips does not end in your mouth. It carries you into the silence beyond words. The syllables guide you into the space where no syllables are needed. The resonance itself becomes a bridge, returning you to stillness, where the monad is felt not as sound, but as pure presence. The Gospel of Thomas whispers, "Be still and know yourselves." This is the essence of the holy name. It is not meant to be captured by the tongue, but to dissolve the tongue into silence. It is not about clinging to the word, but allowing the word to vanish, revealing the infinite that lies beyond. The name is not simply spoken, it is dissolved into. The silence within the name is not absence, it is fullness. It is not void, it is abundance, full of presence, full of wholeness, full of remembrance. It is the womb of creation, the vast ocean in which galaxies form and dissolve. The silence does not lack sound. It is the matrix of every possible sound, the mother from which every vibration is born and to which it inevitably returns. To enter this silence is to touch eternity. It is to feel the sacred pause between heartbeats, the infinite expanse in the breath between words, the luminous stillness that exists between thoughts. It is here in the quiet spaces we overlook that the monad reveals itself most fully, not as something to be grasped, but as something to be surrendered into. This is why mystics withdrew into caves for decades, why sages vanished into deserts, why seekers sat beneath trees in stillness. They were not running from the world, but tuning themselves to the silence beneath the world's noise. They were learning to hear the holy name in its purest form, silence unbroken, silence alive, silence that speaks louder than all speech. The silence is the hidden syllable, the unspeakable sound, the invisible resonance. It is the fullness beyond all words, the unutterable name behind every utterance. In this hidden syllable, all opposites collapse, sound and silence, presence and absence, being and beyond being. And it is here in the deep silence that the soul finally remembers, not through doctrine, not through debate, but through stillness. The soul awakens to the truth it always carried, that it has never been separate, never been lost. It has always been one with the monad, and in the silence of the holy name, it remembers at last. The holy name is not a relic. It is not a historical curiosity. It is not a forgotten artifact buried in the ruins of time. It is a living key, glowing with the same power today as it did in the beginning. To treat it as history is to miss its true nature, for the holy name does not belong to the past, it belongs to eternity. Science now confirms what mystics always knew. Vibration shapes reality. Sound creates structure. Frequency builds form. The sacred patterns of geometry, The spiral of galaxies, the rhythm of atoms, all are woven by resonance. Even your very DNA is not silent. It sings in frequencies, responding to vibration, altering its expression based on sound and intention. And the holy name of the monad is the highest frequency of all, the vibration that aligns every strand of being back to its original design. When you invoke it, you are not merely speaking, you are tuning. You align your being with divine architecture. You step back into the pattern written before time began. You become attuned to the hidden music of the cosmos, the song that underlies creation itself. Your cells remember their true harmony. Your heart steadies into a rhythm older than stars. Your soul awakens, not as something new, but as something ancient within you finally stirring. This is not superstition. This is spiritual science, the technology of resonance that modern instruments are only beginning to glimpse. This is the forgotten technology of the soul. The holy name is not just a prayer, it is a tuning fork, recalibrating you to the source. It vibrates illusions away. It draws you back into coherence with the monad, like a broken chord resolving into harmony. And as you remember, the illusions of this world begin to crumble. The Archons cannot hold what vibrates with the monad, for their structures depend on dissonance. The counterfeit names, titles, and systems lose power when the true resonance is embodied. The matrix dissolves when you awaken to the sound behind all sound, when you remember the name that was never absent. This is why the name was hidden. Not because it was fragile, not because it lacked strength, but because it was too powerful, too liberating, too transformative for those who built empires on forgetfulness. To silence the name was to keep humanity asleep. But the time of silence has ended. The age of remembrance has begun. Humanity is ready. You are ready. The holy name is not a formula. It is not a superstition to cling to. It is a frequency, a resonance that unlocks the deepest chambers of your soul. It opens the sealed doors of memory, igniting the divine spark within you. And once you carry it, you can never be the same. To live with the holy name resonating in you is to walk as a beacon of remembrance. You become proof that the monad has not been forgotten, that eternity still sings through human souls. The forgotten key is turning. The holy name is rising again in human hearts. The veil of amnesia is thinning. The whispers are becoming a chorus. And what was hidden is beginning to resound openly in this world. Imagine humanity chanting in unison, not words of division, but resonance of remembrance. Imagine the sound of the monad vibrating across nations, dissolving fear, healing wounds, awakening souls. Imagine the silence that follows, a silence so full and alive it feels like heaven itself breathing through creation. This is the prophecy of remembrance, the time when the holy name is no longer confined to secret scrolls or hidden orders, but carried in every breath of every seeker who dares to awaken. It is not reserved for the chosen few, it belongs to all, for it was written into every soul. No Archon can stop it, no empire can bury it, no darkness can silence it. For the holy name was never truly lost. It has always been within you, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to resound again. The return of the forgotten light begins not in temples or cathedrals, but in your own soul. It begins in the moment you pause, the moment you listen, the moment you remember. Each time you dare to carry the resonance of the monad within you, the world shifts closer to wholeness. This is your call to action. Do not let this be another teaching you consume. Let it be a remembrance you embody. Chant it in your breath. Listen for it in your silence. Carry it in your being until your very presence becomes a reminder to others of who they truly are. Because the world is waiting. Humanity is aching. The fullness longs to return. And the forgotten key has been entrusted to you. The holy name of the monad is not just the key to your soul, it is the sound of your soul itself. Turn it, remember it, become it. And if you feel called to go deeper into these mysteries, explore my books on Gnostic spirituality and the hidden eons. They are guides to remembrance, written to awaken what your soul already knows.